Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Mark chapter 11, we read about Jesus acquiring a colt to ride on. And he wants to ride it, or he wants to acquire it so that he can ride it to Jerusalem. And it can probably be safely assumed that he was using the donkey to ride over the Mount of Olives to get to Jerusalem. There was a path that went south of the Mount of Olives that he could have taken, but it's probably very likely that he just went right straight towards Jerusalem over the Mount of Olives, which was about a mile wide and 700 feet high. So a very steep incline going up and a very steep decline going down. But this was most likely the pathway that Jesus took on his way to Jerusalem, riding this colt. And I'm really surprised at this colt, because you don't get any indication from the reading that Jesus had any difficulty riding this colt. Seems like they put their blankets on, or they put their coats on the donkey. He rides on the donkey or on the colt and just rides into Jerusalem. No problems, no bucking, no going off the path, no laying down underneath Jesus. The colt just obediently goes where Jesus wants him to go. And this is amazing because of several reasons. For one, it's a colt. And anyone who's owned livestock know that the young animals, such as a colt, would be very unpredictable. Sometimes it's more dangerous to be around the smaller animals, if you're in a herd of cattle or something like that, than it is to be around some of the bigger animals, just for that very reason. They're very unpredictable. But also, it was a colt in which no one had ever sat. So it had not been broken. It did not know or was familiar with what it was like to have a human being sitting on its back. And once again, people who have owned livestock, particularly horses, that you don't just jump on a horse the first time and the horse just calmly takes you where you want to go. Typically, it resists being ridden. It's not used to it. It becomes frightened. It wants to buck off the person that's wanting to ride it. It's a very dangerous situation sometimes when you're riding an animal for the first time. And then you add to it that, provided that this path was over the Mount of Olives, that it was a rigorous pathway that would have been difficult for a colt to do with a human being on his back, having never been ridden before, to keep that colt on the right track and keep him from getting off the path and falling over or trying to buck Jesus off. This is a very impressive colt. This colt seems to be very much tame, very much willing to carry Christ, and very willing to go where Jesus wants him to go. And so he becomes a very good example for us, because oftentimes we might be more rebellious than this young colt. That is, we are called to carry Christ with us everywhere we go. We're called to walk with the Lord, to bring Christ into every aspect of our lives. And yet, oftentimes, when things are not favorable to us, or when we want to go our own way, or when we have a different game plan than perhaps the Lord has, we tend to want to, of course, metaphorically, buck him off. That is, go our own way, get off the beaten path, go the way that we want to go, and we become rebellious against him instead of submitting to him, as this colt did on this pathway to Jerusalem. Maybe it could be said of us what it was said of of Israel, back in Isaiah chapter 1 in verse 3, where it says, "An ox knows its owner, and a donkey its master's manger. But Israel does not know. My people do not understand." We need to recognize that it is Christ who should be leading us. And we need to submit to him, much like this colt submitted to him. Even though the pathway may be rough, even though the pathway might be hard, it might be a path that we don't want to take. It may be the burden. We might feel burdened by the things that the Lord is asking us to do. And it might be that we're not used to submitting. Maybe all of our lives we've kind of done what we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, and how we wanted to do it. And now we have to submit our will to the will of another person, and that might be difficult. But we can learn from this colt. We can learn that it is possible to submit to the Lord, even though it might be against our nature, even though it might be a difficult journey. We submit to the Lord. And in doing so, we get the honor, the privilege of being the ones who walk in the direct presence of the Lord and have the Lord with us continually everywhere that we go. And that in and of itself makes it worthwhile. And so today, as we do our reading today in Mark chapter 11, let's identify with this colt. Let's be inspired by this colt and want to follow his example as we live a life in submission to Christ. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.